bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Hello. Oh, this time I hope you can hear me because last time something was wrong with our speaker. You know what? I'm going to get a little bit closer here to the microphone. Not speaker, it was our microphone problem. Hello, my friends. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time on Monday, and that means one thing and one thing only, and that is we learn homeopathy. And my name is Joette Calabrese. I'm here to teach you. And for those of you who already know me, hi, friends. It's great to see you. And as you can see, Influenza is here. That's her full name. Her nickname, I call her Floozy. She's a little chicken. And, of course, she's a very, very fearful chicken because, as you might recall, because she's been on with me before, as you recall, she's worried about the bird type thing, if you know what I mean. And so she's very nervous, and she's still wearing a mask. Believe it or not, she still wears it. So hello from blessings from blazing hot Yorktown, Virginia. I know it's been pretty hot, hasn't it? But it's no longer hot where I am. It's quite cool and quite comfortable. And hello from Toronto, says Alice. Alice, you're always with me. It's so nice to see you. And these are all my mighties and my friends from Facebook and YouTube. And, no, I don't think you're from YouTube, but this will go to YouTube. And so we have Instagram, Pinterest. And my friends, do share this with your friends. Hi, Bob and Deb from Kentucky. Hi, Joette and friends. So good evening to you all. Tonight we're going to talk about what happens when you go in the water, or your kids go in the water, and they get a painful ear, or two. More often it's one. And it's something that's called swimmer's ear. But basically, what is it? It's an ear infection, right? That's all it really is. I'm going to have Floozy sit down here now, so she's calming down a little bit. She's always nervous, because she worries so much about germs. She worries so much about the newest germs that are coming out. So I'm just going to have her sit right here with me. So it's just basically an ear infection, right? And sometimes it's from lake water or pond water or something, that could have been contaminated on some level, right? Do we need to know what microorganism it is? Must we know that? No, but I will tell you that if you have it tested, the microorganism will sound really scary. I guarantee it. It'll sound scary. And so we're not afraid of those kinds of things. It is not important for us to know which microorganism is acting, is causing. And then again, we may not even know that that's the cause. It might just be a concomitant microorganism, right? I mean, it could be something as simple as that. So, oh my goodness, look at the door behind me. It's all crooked. I think that fell off of its glider the other night, or its little slide, and I forgot about it. And now I see it so glaringly. Guess that has to be worked on. Anyway, my friends, what we go with is not the name of the microorganism. We go by what? The name of the condition. So it's an ear infection, right? And we go by the symptoms, right? So it's sometimes the name of the condition doesn't, thank you, Angela. Sometimes knowing the name of the condition is not really valuable. Sometimes it doesn't help us. Symptoms are usually pretty useful because symptoms are a representation of something that's going on. We don't have to identify exactly what's going on necessarily, but we do need to know the symptoms. Symptoms never lie. Nope, they don't do that unless what we're observing are side effects. Side effects of a drug, side effects of synthetic vitamins, side effects of synthetic supplements, side effects of poor food, etc., etc. But generally, side effects are from drugs. drugs of commerce, synthetic drugs of commerce. And so those kinds of side effects can confound the picture. So if a child comes home after swimming in a pond, and the next day, it's often the next day. It usually doesn't happen that same day. It's usually that night or the next day, and they've got pain in the ear. Maybe they have a little fever. Maybe they have a high fever. Then we can pretty much guess that it's likely an ear infection, right? Must we go to the pediatrician to find out if it's an ear infection, if the child is tugging at the ear and saying it hurts and they've got a little fever? Must we find out? Must we go? I wouldn't. Perhaps you would because it's new to you. Maybe it's your first child, this first time this has happened. But once you get accustomed to this kind of stuff, you take it in your stride and you learn, oh, I know how to deal with this. By the way, my friends, that is one of the advantages of homeopathy and having it at your fingertips is that you no longer fear. Why don't you fear? Because you know what to do. You learn how to identify. And then you also learn what to do about it. What homeopathic medicines would be useful, what potency, what frequency, and you own them. You have them on hand. So, my dears, if you have a child, if you have more than one child, and they swim, you might want to own the medicines we're going to talk about tonight. And you would automatically own them if you had a homeopathy kit. And there are many different kits. Most of them are pretty darn good. So a kit with as many medicines as you can get in one box, in my estimation, is the best way to go. So where do we start? Let's say the child has no ear infection. No fever. There's pain in the ear. So there's very likely an ear infection. Unless it's mechanical, unless something got into the ear or the child had an injury. We're going to assume that all of that's not so. But the child does not have a fever. All this child has is pain. And it's noteworthy. It's something that's really very uncomfortable for this child. The first medicine I think of, it's not the only one, but the first one I always think of is Heparsulf. Hepar sulfuricum calcarea. It's a combination remedy. I know many people who adhere to not combining medicines don't know this, but it is truly a combination medicine. It's Hepar sulfuricum added to mixed with Calcarea carbonicum. So it is Hepar sulf calcarea. So, and I like to use that in a 200C, and I would use that every 3 hours. Oh, yes, indeedy. If the pain is extraordinary, then I would use a Banerjee protocol. And I would use Hepar sulfuricum calcarea 200C every 3 hours, alternating with another medicine. Belladonna, beautiful woman. Belladonna 30. I would use Hepar sulf 200, alternating with Belladonna 30 every 3 hours. Now, people say to me, does this mean that you'd use Hepar sulf 200 at 9 in the morning, and then Belladonna at 3, and then Hepar sulf at 12, and then at 3 you transfer back to Hepar sulf, and then at 6 back to Belladonna? No, I don't see it that way. Especially if it's more intense. You can do it that way if it's a mild version. But if you have this child has a condition where the pain is pretty significant, or the child is really not well. It's not just a little, it's a little achy. No, this is something that's noteworthy. Then we would use, at 9, we would use Hepar sulfuricum calcarea 200C or Hepar sulf 200C. And about 10 minutes later, then we'd alternate to Belladonna 30. Then at 12 noon, we'd go back to Hepar sulf 200. And then 10, 15 minutes later, we would go back to Belladonna. So you would alternate them within 10 to 15 minutes of each other. And you do that every 3 hours. Now, if it's mild, then we can open it up further. Hepar sulf at 9, Belladonna at noon. Hepar sulf at 3, Belladonna at 6. You see how we're going with this? Okay. So here it is. Spelling is being asked. Here it is. We've got it all written here for you. Charis has written it. Thank you, Charis. Yep. And Alice tells us that Banerjee protocol, Heap Herself and Belladonna, fixed my old dying, I thought, cat's eye abscess. This combo made the abscess drain within the hour and gave him back his health over the next week. It is Heap Herself and Belladonna is one of our best combinations, or it's not actually mixed together, our best remedies that alternate between each for infections such as an abscess, yes, such as an ear infection, even sometimes as for conjunctivitis. Now, let me also say that sometimes the child is fine. He went swimming during the day, came home, had dinner, went to bed. Right around midnight, the child is, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Somebody help me. I think I'm really, really, really sick. Mom, you gotta help me. And there's a fever and everything is coming all at once, really hard. And with a very intense, quick onset. Then, instead of using Heap Ourself in that fashion, I would go to aconitum. Aconitum, A-C-O-N-I-T-U-M, or aconite for short, and I would use it in a 200Z. Oh, yes. And then I would alternate with going back to Heap Ourself 200 and Belladonna 30. And I would alternate all three of them. But I would start with aconitum 200. Why? Because it has a quick onset, very extreme sensation, and the child or the person feels as though they are going to die, or they're frightened, or they have tremendous anxiety. Aconitum has that in its picture. Now, belladonna can also come on quickly. It can have a quick onset. But aconitum is generally, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's trepidation, there's worry. There feels like something really, really, really bad is happening to me. And belladonna is more, they're usually going into a fever. So there we go. Charis, thank you very much. Thank you, Charis. You're like my assistant here. It's great. Let's see what kind of questions we have here. Hi, Harry. Oh, let's just see. No infection, but fluid in the ears. Well, if there's no pain, there's no infection, then we're talking about something else, Jay Joyce. You have to think about food intolerances or response to environment, such as new carpeting, or allergies, such as the change in weather or pollen, etc. So when there's just fluid in the ear and there's no pain and there's no heat fever and no etc., then that's a different situation. And if it is allergies or food intolerances, then I urge you to go to Joette's Learning Center, Joettes, no apostrophe, Joette's Learning Center, and scroll down to allergic. And that is exactly where you'll get the information for that. Here we go. Everyone's helping each other. I love it. Harry says, hi, Joette and Perry. So good to see you all. Yeah, that Banerjee protocol, it's pretty amazing. The protocols are quite amazing. Yes. And you got the spellings. No, arnica I would not use unless it was an injury or there was a hematoma or something like that. Look, if you didn't know, Angela's asking, could it be arnica? If you didn't know what to do, you didn't know what else to do, and you had no idea, you'd never been to this little session tonight, use arnica. Absolutely, use it. Yes, sometimes it can bring pain down regardless of how it fits in exactly the arnica picture. You bet. That's exactly how this should work. You know, interestingly, years ago when I first started to learn about homeopathy, my parents, we lived next door to my parents, and I would talk about the remedies. And one of the remedies that I learned about in the very beginning, of course, because we often start with learning a couple remedies to get started, and I was talking about arnica, and my mother remembered it. And my mother started to use arnica for everything. She used it for her sleep. She used it for fatigue. She certainly used it for when any of my children fell. But I'd never heard of using arnica for fatigue or sleep. And the materia medicas I had were, well, certainly not as fleshed out as, say, Robin Murphy's materia medica. And so I don't remember reading anything about fatigue or sleep, and yet it helped her with sleep consistently. And it was years later that I realized that arnica indeed is a very good medicine to help someone settle down and be able to go to sleep. It's also very good when we have someone who has fatigue, such as jet lag, or overusing their body, or just fatigue in general. Now, I don't know if I would use it necessarily for chronic fatigue, but if we're talking about events of fatigue, that arnica can be a really great medicine. So although it's not as specific as the medicines I'm talking about tonight, arnica is a good one to keep on hand. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Fluid in the ear from swimming underwater, ear closed but not painful. Is that the same? Let's see what everybody else comes up with. I'm going to go on to another subject, but I'm going to see what everybody else comes up with when there's fluid in the ear. Now, here's the thing. I always wonder, what does that mean, fluid in the ear? You mean it's draining? Is it draining clear? Is it a creamy color? Is it yellowish? Is it greenish? Or is fluid in the ear what is seen with an otoscope by a pediatrician? And by the way, let me just say, my friends, when I was raising my children, I did not take them in, if you know what I mean. And so they had a couple of ear infections here and there, but it was nothing that stopped me in my tracks. I learned what to do. I learned how to use homeopathy so I didn't have to worry about it. But I did think, if they did start getting more ear infections, you know what I was going to buy? An otoscope. And then I was going to learn how to use it. Now, today it's easier. You can buy a good quality, don't buy a cheap one, a good quality otoscope online. I don't know that I'd buy just from Amazon, but perhaps I would get it from maybe some kind of medical supplies store. And then you go online and look at what it is you're supposed to be looking for, right? Hearing muffled from plugged ears, when fluid gets trapped in your ears and muffles your hearing. Muffled hearing. Let's see if anybody's come up with some ideas. What about water staying in the ear after swimming? We'll come back round again. No pain, no fever. I don't think I'd give it a thought. Just life. Hit the head, shake the leg. I mean, that's what I remember when I used to swim as a young child. Okay, let's get back to this. Silica for fluid in the ears. Let me also say that look at this old remedy for water trapped in the ear. A few drops of vodka will clear it out. Some people say whiskey. Yes, Veronica, you're absolutely right. I think that's so. Silica is for fluid in the ear and hearing muffled from plugged ears. Plugged ears, my friends, often is heap ourself. It's not the only medicine we've got. We've got others, but definitely. Now, Cassandra brings up something interesting. She brings up Lycopodium 30 for fluid in the ear because Lycopodium is all about edema and fluid and swellings and enlargements, etc. It's not a bad thought. It's not a bad thought. Anybody else have anything else? Put on antibiotic. No, we don't need to do that. Kali mur is for crackling noises in the ear. You're right, Noreen. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Now, no one has actually, I don't think anyone has said crackling sound, but if there's crackling in the ears, Kali mur is excellent. Her hair has to be drained too. She was willing to try homeopathy, but this just moved too fast. Well, that's what homeopathy does. It moves fast because we could see a change in someone's concern sometimes within the first dose, but it depends. How about excess wax in the ear? Okay, let me get back to these. I'm going to just gather up some of these questions. Yes, I do like silica for fluid in the ears, especially if it is clear or yellow. I love it. Mitch says Kelly Mud. I think you meant Kelly Muir. Kelly Muir is good. Yes, Muir says Mitch. Yes, and you corrected. But I like Kelly Mud better. Kelly Muir for blocked ears. Very good. Sunlight says peroxide. I'm going to tell you, my friends, I don't use peroxide. Because the idea of peroxide, if you have no choice, okay. But we've got something infinitely better than peroxide because peroxide just kills bugs, so to speak. It kills it. And that's not our goal. Our goal is to uproot so that the next time the child goes swimming, they don't get swimmer's ear. Whereas with peroxide, you're going to have to use it every time. Yes. 10 drops for 3 minutes and drain. That's what Sunlight's saying. No, I'm sorry. I'm not saying don't do it. That's not what I would do. I used peroxide long before homeopathy, and I found homeopathy is much more efficacious, my friends. Potency for silica for fluid in ears. I like a 6X. Yep. All right. I also want to mention something else. Another kind of infection that shows up in summertime. And excuse me, I'll take a drink of water. And that's infected insect bites. It's so frequent, it's so common that this happens, that someone gets insect bites, mosquitoes, no-see-ums, chiggers, those kinds of things. And after the itching is all over with, now what we've got is small pustules that then can turn into, look infected. Sometimes they can even become more sobering than just a little pustule. It can turn into a boil, a carbuncle. And so that's when, Ledum, you're right, Monica, you're right on this. Yes, we can use Ledum at that time. But once it gets infected, if there is actually matter that shows infection, then I go back to heap ourself. I go right back to that again. Now, would I use a 200? Not unless it was quite enlarged, but I would stick with 6 or 30. Heap ourself again. You bet. Serinum, says Jennifer. Serinum can be useful. It's kind of a heavy hitting for just some insect bites that have gotten pustules. But I also have to say, if this happens on a regular basis, Serinum might indeed be in order. Noreen, Kelk Salt for infected bites. Another good one, Kelk Salt for infected bites. And Monica says mullein and garlic juice. Yes, I do like that. And I love botanicals. Mullein is a botanical. Garlic is it's a food. It's a botanical. And Cheris is writing out for me, heap ourselves 6 or 30 for infected bug bites. How often do you use this? Well, if the infection is getting to the point where you're a little concerned about it, you might want to use it maybe every 3 hours. But if you're not so concerned, twice a day is good. And it wouldn't take long before the next day it's probably not as proud looking, not as angry looking, that area, that infected area, and then it calms down and calms down. Let's see. Nancy says, before I learned homeopathy, I used garlic, clove with surgical tape and fixed the problem every time. Garlic is amazing. There's no doubt about it. It is quite amazing. And garlic can also, of course, protect us from being bitten by the insects in the first place, right? It's a very good choice. What else do we have? Excess skin and wax in the ear. I'm not sure I know what you mean by excess skin. Maybe what you're asking about, Jennifer, is peeling skin, perhaps, flaking skin in the ear. And earwax is also, there are medicines. You know who's going to know this? Noreen, you want to tell us for excess earwax in the cell salts category? I would use Heap Ourself again. Heap Ourself, my friends, is one of our best medicines for the ears. It's not all conditions, but it is one of the main medicines that we come back to. Calendula gel, says Harry. You got it. I agree. That's another good choice. Calendula. Calendula is just wonderful in general. We have applications coming in for our Academy class of 2025. And we just had someone report, it was such an interesting story. She said that she had an injury. What was the injury? I think it was a hematoma. And it was when she first learned about homeopathy years ago. And she had used arnica gel on only one part of this rather sizable hematoma, or this, I guess it was a hematoma. I only used it one part, and when she woke up the next day, only that part was no longer black and blue. But the other section that she hadn't used the gel on remained dark and tender. So she decided, of course, to use it on the entire injury. Yes, flaking skin, she says. Yeah, flaking skin is generally related to allergies. Skin skin allergies. And so again, I would go to one of two courses or both of them, to be honest, and that would be Joette's Learning Center Allergic and Joette's Learning Center. Scroll down and go to Skin, The Ugly Truth. That's where you're going to learn all of this, my friends. And if you're not in a study group, I urge you to join one, Gateway to Homeopathy. We have a couple of people here who run them. Let's see if I can see who's here. I know that Noreen runs them, so you could speak to Noreen tonight. And we have leaders who run these groups. And I'm sorry if I don't know all of you who are leaders in these study groups. So please excuse me, but I do know Noreen runs one of them. So you could contact her. And it's a great way to meet people of like mind. Let's see, my 25-year-old niece went through a terrible ear infection after an ocean vacation destination with her family. She missed work all week, went back and forth to the ENT after an urgent care trip. She was out in an antibiotic and ultimately oxycodone. Yep, that's what happens. So if we're not prepared, that's how it shakes out. That's what occurs, is that we lose control. And then we're on a drug, such as an antibiotic, that causes gut problems. Not unlike what one of the first questions was, someone who said that they had someone in their family who had a malabsorption issue. They were not absorbing their nutrients properly. I'm not going to answer that specifically, other than to say we have to look at what preceded this. Often it's antibiotics, because antibiotics are like a napalm bomb. Bam! And it destroys the gut flora. All right, maybe it's not a destruction. It affects greatly the gut flora. And now the person can't have dairy anymore. And now a couple months later, they can't have bread anymore. And now they can't eat this, or they have diarrhea, or they have constipation, or they have both, or they have anxiety because anxiety is related to the gut, etc., etc., etc. Would sulfur help yellow fluid in the ears? We got 3 more minutes. I know that you folks know the answer to this, so I'm going to let that go. I'm going to wait for somebody to hop in. Apis can help if it's inflamed. Harry's saying Apis can help with a insect bite if it's inflamed. You're absolutely right. It can. But if it gets to the point where it's actually infected, now we consider HEPAR. So in the inflammation stage, yes, think of Apis, Ledum or Apis or both. But once it gets into the infected state, now we're going to be thinking about HEPAR sulf. Here we go. Others are hopping in. Noreen, how to get in touch? Asks Cheryl. All right, let's see what else we've got. Would sulfur help with yellow fluid in the ears? Let's see. Yes, thank you very much, Tara. Replying to Cassandra. Generally, I think the first remedy I think of for yellow fluid in the ears is pulsatilla. Now, it's not the only one. We have others, my friend, but it is one of the first ones we think of. And that is kind of what we do here on Monday nights. I'm not going to go through every medicine that could cover this, because if I were to look in the repertory under ears, discharge, fluid, semicolon yellow, we're not going to find just pulsatilla. We're going to find a number of them, but pulsatilla is one of our main medicines for that. So we're giving you the top medicines, those medicines that are the most commonly used for these conditions. All righty. Let's see if I've gotten someone else. Excess skin may be scar tissue, says Monica. It depends. Oh, thank you, Monica. If so, thiocinaminum. You're so on it, Monica. It's beautiful. Ringing in the ears. Do this. Joette Calabrese. Ringing in the ears. You'll find it on my blog. I give you exactly the medicines, the potencies, and the frequencies. And my friends, do take advantage of that blog. Anytime you've got a condition, what a shame not to use something that I give for free, that I've been running for, I don't know, how old is that blog? 14 years, every Sunday night. There it is, another condition and another medicine, potency, and frequency that's associated with it. Let's see if we've got anything else. Let us see. Yes, the study groups are for gateways. I think we've got to call it a night. Okay, when I got an insect bite, I am very hot. Well, I run hot water over it and it's over, says Jan. Great. Listen, those simple methods are fabulous. The difference is if you get an insect bite or you get anything that occurs, swimmer's ear or whatever, and you use homeopathy, you're not treating just that event. That's what peroxide does. That's what hot water does. Nothing wrong with it, but that's what those methods do. Homeopathy does one big step greater. It uproots so that the next time that condition occurs, it's now a little lessened. And if it happens again, we use the same medicine again and it uproots a little further until finally it is no longer a concern. And so thank you for the appreciation, Nancy. Love you all. God bless you. It's 8:31. I'm going to dash off. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn all your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn all your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orm sperm wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn all your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn all your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn all your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn all your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orm sperm wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn all your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn all your remedies.